Australian Filipina couples, other priorities. I remember when our partner visa was granted, that's Mila and myself. It was a prospective marriage visa actually. Mila was in Hong Kong. Now she was supposed to give a month's notice to her employer before she came, otherwise she would have to sacrifice a month's pay. Well, guess what? She sacrificed a month's pay, and she was literally on the plane the next day. We wanted to be together. This is what we'd been dreaming of. When Mila arrived in Australia, we got on to organising our wedding ASAP, and we got on with life as a married couple. I was her top priority, she was mine. Also our family right there in Australia. It was my two sons and daughter Remy when she arrived later on a subclass 445 dependent child visa. Now all of this meant that we really had no problems getting our 820 visa granted later, or our 801. What the department want most of all is to see that you have a genuine and committed relationship, which we did and we still do have. Partner visas are the priorities. Now there are some blog articles which, it can be a bit difficult for me to write because of the risk of offending someone and getting offended emails sent to me, like, oh, you were talking about me. I'm not. It happens a few times. I hope this won't be one of those occasions. Now, I make no judgments of anybody's relationship. However, and listen to this, the department will most certainly judge your relationship, and that, my friends, is my point. I'm not a romance consultant, but I am a migration agent. That means I'm the chap in between you and the department. It's my job to present the best possible case to them which will make them utterly convinced that you meet the regulations for a partner visa. So please curb any offended feelings. I'm on your side, and that means telling the truth. As above, Mila was in a hurry to get to Australia to be with me, and it was 2.5 years before she went back to the Philippines after she arrived, and the time that she went, I was with her as well as my two sons. Now, if you compare that with a visa applicant who delays coming to Australia the first time, may even miss the must enter by date, wants to keep returning to the Philippines because she misses her family, and may even spend more of the initial 9 months of a prospective marriage visa inside the Philippines than in Australia with her fiance or husband, or may do something similar while waiting for an 820 partner visa. Now, how do you think this looks to the case officer whose job it is to assess the worth of your relationship? Again, I'm not making any personal judgments here or saying that my wife is better than your wife, regardless of how absolutely magnificent she is. But I'm telling you, it may very well look like her heart is elsewhere. Now, you're thinking, judge our relationship. How dare they? How dare they? Do they have a right? Yes. Yes, afraid they do. A little document called the Australian Constitution gives the federal government the right to decide who comes to Australia and who doesn't. And that means the government appoints staff who act for the minister to make decisions on whether your wife, spouse or fiancé is a person that Australia wants or not. Like it or not, yes, they may do just that. Now, there are review processes in place if you don't like the decision, but of course they take time and they cost money. And by the way, the review process isn't about rewriting the regulations. If you don't meet the regulations, you don't meet the regulations. All they'll look at is whether they feel it's been interpreted correctly or not. Now, take a partner visa refusal to the Administrative Affairs Tribunal and you will wait for around a year before it's heard. That'll cost you $1,731. You take it to the Federal Court or the High Court, it'll cost you tens of thousands. Now, the Migration Act of 1958 contains a definition of spouse, and this is what they go off, which contains the following words. They have a mutual commitment to a shared life as a married couple to the exclusion of all others, and the relationship between them is genuine and continuing. It also says they live together and or do not live apart, let's say do not live separately and apart on a permanent basis. Now the department's own Procedures Advice Manual breaks that down even further. The department staff use this manual and what's inside it to decide if an applicant or sponsor are in a relationship that is genuine and continuing, and if such a commitment to a shared life as a married couple exists. They also get to decide if you are in fact living together and not apart on a permanent basis. So the onus is on you to show that you are only apart through necessity, and convince them that you have full intention of living together permanently. Now, it's not so easy if it appears one or both of you are putting off being together, or that one or both of you would rather be somewhere else. Now, you can argue points about whether you are committed despite time spent apart, or whether you should have joint bank accounts or any other factors with me. And I mean that rhetorically, and not encouraging you to vent your frustration at me, and would actually prefer if you didn't. You may think you have enough proof, or you may think they have no right to look at your private communication, and you may stand on your moral high ground. Yet despite the best of arguments they can, and they will, still refuse your visa application, and they have every legal right to do so. Now, it's much like how you wear a suit and tie if you're up before the judge. You may detest calling him Your Honour, but you do so because here sits the chap who can toss you in the slammer. And your visa application, your paperwork, and the decisions that you make about travelling back and forth will all be used by the judges in the department when making some pretty critical decisions which will affect the rest of your lives. So do all you can to present the most picture-perfect case that you can, and please follow our advice. We are from Down Under Visa, and we're here to help you. Thank you.